Out toward right field. That's well hit. Upton's going back toward the wall. It is gone! And the Phillies take the lead here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Darren Rupp got it caught up in the wind. He goes the opposite way. It's a 3-2 ball game.
Welcome to the main event on WHIP, Phillies #1 college radio station. I'm Chase Sr. I will be taking you up until noon, followed by Stadium Talk. And our next guest joining us on WHIP, Phillies #1 college radio station, is Jim Salisbury of Comcast Sportsnet. Jim, it's Chase Sr. How are you?
Hey, Chase, I'm doing well. It's good to be with you.
Thank you so much for joining us. And, I know this Philly season has been a big disappointment, but you've done a fantastic job of covering the Phillies on a consistent basis. And you had the luxury of covering one of the greatest pitching rotations of all time when the 1 through 4 rotation was Roy Halladay, Cliff Lee, Cole Hamels, and Roy Oswalt. You joined Todd Zalecki in writing a book. How was that experience covering one of the greatest pitching staffs of all time and writing a book on that pitching staff?
Well, it was a tremendous experience. If you remember back to when they acquired Cliff Lee, all the hype was, have they put together one of the greatest rotations of all time? And when you look back at it statistically, indeed they did. And if you remember, Oswalt actually was banged up a little bit of that season. Vance Worley stepped in and did a nice job for the team. But yes, statistically, they were just absolutely lights out. Watching, 3 all-star Cy Young caliber guys in their prime. That team won 102 games. They probably should have won the World Series. But they had, 25 really great weeks during the regular season and one poor week in October, and that was it. They were bounced.
Yeah, and the Philadelphia faithful will never forget that heartbreaking Game 5 loss against the St. Louis Cardinals.
No doubt, I still remember it, October 7th, still kind of fresh in my mind. Halladay pitches 8 great innings, gets no run support, and earlier in that series, Game 2, ironically, we're talking about how great that rotation was. Cliff Lee did something that, he just really never did that season. Mm-hmm. He let a 4-0 lead get away in Game 2, and that was a huge turning point that put them in that predicament of Game 5.
Right, now sticking with the rotation, it's time to start assessing the pitching staff for the 2014 season. Since coming off the DL, Roy Halladay's 3 starts are as followed: 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 earned runs; 5 innings pitched, 7 hits, 5 earned runs; and 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run. His velocity remains in the high 80s, and Doc is lacking that command, and he doesn't appear to be that physical specimen on the hill that we saw in 2010 and 2011. Now, if you're Ruben Amaro Jr., do you bring back Roy Halladay? And if so, what is the dollar and money figure that you have in mind?
Wow, that's a tough one. They're still evaluating. I think he's got 4 starts left, so he's really under the microscope and has been for a while. If I'm Ruben Amaro, I have Cliff Lee and Cole Hamels coming back as my 1-2. I have Miguel Gonzalez, the Cuban guy they signed. My guess, my hunch is Kendrick will be back. I'm going to be very, very careful on Roy Halladay in expectation. I don't expect it to be any more than maybe a back-end starter, 4 or 5.
Right.
We'll be very careful with his health and the fact that he's been a Warrior for 12 or 13 years, and you only have so many bullets. And obviously his shoulder now has been repaired. We haven't seen the velocity come back. I don't know how much more it's going to come back on a 36-year-old guy who'll be 37 and with a surgically repaired shoulder. If I had to make, what's today, September 9th, if I had to make a call on September 9th and I was the general manager, I would tip my hat to him and let him go. I just think they've made so many risks in health and age in the last few years, and I don't know that I want to take that risk. And it's a risk not bringing him back. He might go to the St. Louis Cardinals and win 12 games and make 28 starts, which would be a nice season. But, I just think you have to balance it depending on, what he would want financially. It would have to be a very very incentive-laden contract with a low base to tempt me. And as I said, right now, on heading into the second week of September, I just haven't seen enough to act on it. Maybe, GMs are human beings like all of us. They reserve the right to change their mind. Maybe he comes out and really shows them something the last 4 starts. And I'm not even talking about results. I'm not talking about that line they read when the guy comes out of the game. I'm talking about what educated baseball people see with their eyes: the location, the velocity, the movement, the bite on his pitches, the mechanics. Is he able to extend? Is he able to, have good arm action in the when he, in his takeaway? He looks a little short, as they say, in back during before his release.
Yeah.
I just don't know where he's going to go. So right now, I probably would say I would let him go.
Now, on the receiving end of Roy Halladay and the rest of the pitching staff is Carlos Ruiz. He's finally found a rhythm, not quite the numbers that he had a year ago, but his average has sneakily crept up to 280. He hit 333 in August with 11 ribbies. Given that the Phillies don't have many catching prospects in the farm system, with Tommy Joseph's lingering concussion problems and Sebastian Valley had a poor year, is Chooch the best option behind home plate for the Phillies in 2014?
Probably for the price you can get him. He's a right-handed bat, which they really need. They don't have anybody ready in the system. Again, I don't really look at the numbers. I look at the way he's swinging the bat, how hard he hits the ball. He's been a different guy the last month. That has shown him numbers. Much more confident, handle the staff even better than he did early in the year. I thought he looked tentative behind the plate. He's gotten to know some of these young guys. He's going to be 35. Again, risky. Because he's broken down the last couple of years with small injuries that have knocked him out for a month or so. But with all the other options, I think he's probably the best one. I would look to do something short term with him in the 2-year range and see if you can get him back, and hopefully he can rebound and continue what he did in August.
Phillies have a lot of money to spend going into this offseason and a lot of changes to make. Some young players have been really impressive, including Cody Ashe and Darren Ruff. Ashe's batting .266. He's shown Mike Schmidt fielding ability at the hot corner, and Darren Ruff has 13 home runs in just 188 at-bats. From your perspective, have those two played themselves into a position for next year?
Well, there's an old saying: you don't judge too much what happens in spring training. You don't judge too much what happens in September when your team is out of the race, because neither one of them are really pressure situations. That said, I've been very impressed with Ashe. I love the fact that they're throwing him in against left-handers. They're not brainwashing him into thinking he can't hit left-handers. I love the fact that Sandberg throws him out there. He's done very well against lefties. I think right now he's the odds-on favorite to go into Clearwater. His job to lose, and I suspect he's going to be your opening day third baseman. I think Ruff is playing himself right onto the roster, whether he's a platoon outfielder or more of a regular or even semi-regular outfielder. He's certainly, his strikeouts are a bit much. I'd like to see a little more contact, but when he gets in a groove and gets going, he can produce. I mean, yesterday's game-winning home run was impressive because he was down 0-2, and he stayed with it, and he battled back and took the ball out the other way. Again, the home run was nice, but the at-bat was just so encouraging. So I think both of those guys have played themselves into roles on next year's team.
Now, when Charlie Manuel was fired, Ruben Amaro Jr. was quick to slap the interim tag on Ryan Sandberg, but it seems as though the team has responded well to him being in charge, and the results are there. They've compiled some wins. Are you hearing anything on Sandberg being back next year as the Phil's skipper, or is that a move that Ruben Amaro Jr. and the front office is going to assess after the season?
Well, Chase, quite honestly, we've heard, for a year now or more that Ryan Sandberg was the manager of the future here, and in his first 23 games he has done nothing to disprove that he should be the guy. I expect that interim label to be removed, if not in the final days of the season, then possibly the next day or two after the season ends. I think he's a very intriguing resume. I'm really curious to see what he can do over a full season. I've liked everything I've seen, and I know a lot of other people have as well. I think he'll be the next full-time manager of the Phillies.
And Jim, last one before we let you go. The Philadelphia Eagles take on the Washington Redskins tonight on Monday Night Football to kick off the Chip Kelly regime. Will you find yourself on the couch tonight watching the Philadelphia Eagles?
Oh yeah, I always root for the Eagles to do well because I think everybody in town is in a better mood when they do well. So I like when they do well. I'm very, I like a good story. As a journalist, I like a good story, and I'm very curious to see how this new coach does. He seems to be full of life, and that upbeat offense, up-tempo offense. I just want to see how it all plays. So, the kind of the storyteller in me is very intrigued to see how this story unfolds this season and starting tonight. So, I'll be watching.
All right, great. Well, Jim, we thank you so much for joining us on the main event on WHIP. Your coverage has been phenomenal all season long, and we thank you so much for joining the show. Please don't be a stranger. We hope to talk to you soon.
Anytime, Chase. Be good, man.
All right, take care. That was Jim Salisbury of Comcast Sportsnet, the Phillies beat writer, who does a fantastic job of covering the Philadelphia Phillies. We got to take a quick break, but when we come back, we got to hit on all things Philadelphia Eagles. Reuben Frank from Comcast Sportsnet will join us next.